Welcome to the Vol Bros. My name is Evan. This is my brother Rustin. We are two Vol Bros who are actually bros in real life. Rustin is joining us from his car. Don't worry, he's in the passenger seat so that he can be on this live stream. He is on his way back from watching the Tennessee Baseball Volunteers win the SEC Tournament Championship. They were already regular season champs, and now they're tournament champs as well. Rustin, tell us what it was like down there today.
It was a pretty incredible atmosphere. It was about, I would say, 40% LSU fans, 30 to 40% Tennessee fans, and then 20 to 30% just random people from the community and other schools. But it was kind of amazing. I've never seen LSU baseball fans live and in person, and they are unbelievably loud. It probably sounded on TV like there was a lot more of them there than there actually were. There was a lot of them there, but at times it sounded like they had 2/3 of the stadium, and that just really wasn't the case. Um, it's an incredible place to watch a game. Hoover, I don't think Hoover was ready for a Tennessee LSU championship. The infrastructure around Hoover definitely not make for conducive traffic conditions. They oversold the general admission, so there was people who bought tickets who were just standing the entire game because there were no seats. And but aside from those infrastructure things, that I think they just probably never expected. Whatever the capacity is in Hoover, it was drastically exceeded today.
Yeah, they said it was the
So
largest
I
crowd
don't
in the
think they were
history of the
prepared
tournament.
for that. Yeah, I can attest. Um, so what the capacity was, they ignored it. When we got there, we seats with a tickets with a number, and we were told to just find somewhere because it wasn't. No, it was basically that's not your seat anymore. Just find a spot. So they kind of lost control of everything in the stadium, and I mean there were people still coming into the stadium in the third inning who were just getting in. So they badly oversold, but in spite of that, it was pretty incredible atmosphere. It's one of those stadiums where you can be right on top of the action pretty much no matter where you are. We were close enough to the bullpen to hear Aaron Combs warming up at the end, and we knew he was going to go in and throw pretty hard because that mitt was popping in the bullpen.
Yeah, they said there's just over 15,000 people there today. Um, we'll find out tomorrow who is in Tennessee's regional. I mean, my goodness, regular season SEC champs, tournament champs, number one overall seed. That's pretty incredible. I mean, they're not officially the number one overall seed yet, but they're going to be the number one overall seed. We do have some comments coming in, and then I'm going to give my thoughts on what we saw today. Zach, welcome, Zach. Good to have you, buddy. He said, "We're the champions, my bros." Let's see. Uh, Zach said, "I guess Tennessee didn't listen to Russ. Lose and go home. I'm so glad they didn't. VFL, love you, Russ." That's what was so funny about this. Tony Vitello actually said in an interview after one of the games, I think it was actually after the game last night. He said that next week is the priority, that they were not going to burn out any arms this week. Like he straight up said that. You could see by how they approached game one that they weren't going out there trying to throw everything they had to win it. So clearly they weren't real concerned about this tournament, and they still won it. I mean, like that's how good they are right now. Pretty humorous actually when you think about the fact that they're playing in the toughest conference in the country. They're not even trying to win the conference tournament very much, and they end up winning anyway. I mean, I'm sure that they wanted to win, but how they approached it from pitching standpoint, it was clear that next week, and Tony even said next week is a priority.
They learned a lot this week about some guys for next year. Like they now know that Dylan Loy is a guy they can rely on. his performance today was just outstanding. Marcus Phillips showed him yesterday. He's a guy they can rely on moving forward. They saw several guys throw that, Andrew Binky, guys that have been used sparingly throughout the year, kind of in spot service as needed, who they now know they're in good shape next year.
Yeah, Dylan Loy was my player of the game today. Just absolutely huge on the mound today. Uh, Pitching around people he needed to pitch around. He did a fantastic job and tremendous defense behind him. It was a great day. When you think about today's game, uh, Christian Moore continues to just be incredible. Hunter Inslee, my goodness. At one point, he was like 4 for 4, 3 for 3, or 4 for 4, something like that. Like just an unbelievable game.
Yeah, he finished 4 for 4. And that fourth one was a big one because that was the insurance run that was the difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Uh, and then, my goodness, Aaron Combs comes in and gets back-to-back strikeouts. That was just huge, absolutely huge. And it was important, too, because if they didn't get Milazzo out there at the end, they were going to end up at the top of the order. And if that dude gets on, then you got Tommy Tanks coming up after him. So it was absolutely huge that they struck out the 8 and the 9 hole hitters. But man, what a tremendous game. Um, just absolutely tremendous. And I'm shocked that Christian Moore was not on the all tournament team. I mean, what in the world? Uh, the dude keeps getting disrespected. Even Texas A&M's coach after Tennessee played Texas A&M was like, Christian Moore won the Triple Crown and he wasn't the player of the year. Are you kidding? uh, just unbelievable that he keeps getting disrespected.
What was more unbelievable was there was only 2 Vols, period, on the all tournament team. And honestly, one of them surprised me. Like, Kavaris Tears had a pretty good week, but Christian Moore, I felt, had a way better week.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
for them to just give it to Burke and Kavaris Tears, and what was even weirder was Burke also got MVP. So technically, Tennessee didn't get 2 guys on the all tournament team. They actually only got one.
Well, and there's a video when they're announcing Blake Burke as MVP. They were saying you're MVP of the 2024 SEC baseball tournament. And Burke is tapping Christian Moore on the shoulder like, good job, man. Like he was expecting Christian Moore to get it. And then they announced Blake Burke's name. Unreal. I'm shocked that Christian Moore wasn't at least on the team. Like it's crazy. Let's see here. Sean, welcome, Sean. Good to have you, buddy. He said, let's go champs. Absolutely. Go Big Orange, baby. That's right. Moondrops Beauty, good to see you. She said, I'm so proud the Baseballs won the SEC championship. That's right. Regular season and tournament. Hope this doesn't affect their regional, super regional play. Go Big Orange. Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. Hopefully I was checking to see when those dates are. I'm guessing it's Thursday through Sunday, if I had to bet, and some will start on Thursday, some will start on Sunday, Friday. I just totally butchered that. Some will start on Thursday, some will start on Friday, if I had to guess. But I'm sure that there will be some that start on Thursday. All right, here we go. It says the full 64 team field will be announced tomorrow at noon. So tomorrow at noon on ESPN2. Yep. And then the super regionals will be announced the following Tuesday if there's a situation like we had last year with Tennessee and they had to pick between them and Southern Miss. Otherwise, it should just play itself out and people should know where they're going for their super regional. So, very, very interesting. Yeah, I'm trying to find the exact date, and there's nothing that says the exact date yet. So I guess we'll find out tomorrow. All right. Rebecca, welcome, Rebecca. Good to have you. She said slinging hardware all over Rocky Top. That's exactly right. That is exactly right. Zach said 1 down to go. Let's go out and get that natty. Absolutely. Eric, what's up, Eric? He said, what's up, Evan and Rustin? Vol Bros, our baseballs are SEC champions. Heck yeah. Go Big Orange, hashtag everything school. It is 100% everything school, no doubt about that. Ooh, Sean mentioning the play of the game here. How about that pickoff crazy play? That was beautiful. That was absolutely beautiful. Huge momentum swing in the game. They had bases loaded and they picked the dude off at first. Going back and watching the replay of it, Rustin, I don't know if they showed it in the stadium on the board or not, but going back and watching the replay, as soon as Kirby started pitching the ball, like Blake essentially gave up on the pitch. He was sprinting to the base on the pitch. And I mean, it was absolutely beautiful. We're stadium.
So they actually, when they called him out in the stadium, LSU challenged, and all the LSU fans immediately started cheering. And then they showed the review on the video board, and immediately all the Tennessee fans started cheering. It was obvious. It was obvious he was out, but it was almost comical how fast it happened back to back.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was very clear. The dude's hand actually slid into Blake Burke's foot, so he didn't even reach the base until after Blake had already tagged him. Great call by the umpire. He was right on top of it. Great call by him. Moondrops Beauty said Inslee stepped up last year, stepped up late in the year, just what they needed. So crucial and clutch. Absolutely. I mean, 4 for 4 today. Absolutely incredible. And he has consistently moved up in the lineup, just like you're saying, because he stepped up at the plate. Now he's hitting fifth, which is great because you got Kavaris Steers coming in after him, hopefully drive him in. It was nice to see. Obviously, nice to see Billy Barrels hit the snot out of the ball over the left field wall. But it was also equally nice to see Dean Curley get a couple good swings on the ball today as well. He has been slumping as of late as well, and they need his bat to come back as well. And if he keeps hitting it like he did today, that's a good sign.
I don't know how well it was visible on the television broadcast, but the ball that he hit foul just missed
Off the
being a
wall.
home run by about 6 or 7 feet. Like if
Yeah.
it had not hooked, it was right in front of us. If it had not hooked, it was absolutely a home run, and it just tailed a little bit at the end. But it was in line. The trajectory was perfect. It should have been a home run. It just, for whatever reason, it started tailing. It was a big thing that Hunter Inslee was 4 for 4 today, because Dylan Dreiling and Kavaris Tears were not good. They had no clue where the ball was. They were not seeing it. They were taking some really bad swings. So it was huge that Hunter Inslee had the day he did, because Dreiling and Tears didn't give us hardly anything.
Yep. And I'm glad they took out Ackenhausen or whatever his name is. I'm glad they took him out in the third inning.
That was a weird decision. When they took him out, I looked at our kids and I was like, I have no idea why they're removing him right now. It made no sense.
Well, I think what that showed us was Coach Johnson at LSU was also making next week his priority and not today. I think that's what that showed us, because if today was his priority, Ackenhausen would not have come out. But they had him on a pitch count, and they're saving him for the regionals, and so that's why he came out.
Yeah, but he had just gotten an out, and we weren't. I mean, he had us completely off balance. We weren't giving him any issues at all. And even if he's on a pitch count, okay, so if he goes 8-10 pitches over and finishes the inning, that's not a big deal. Like, I just did not understand that decision at all, and then it bit them.
It did bite them for sure, in that very same inning, because that's when Billy stepped in and hit the home run. Let's see here. Welcome, Herbie said, followed Vol baseball for years, and this has been an awesome ride. Vitello has woken a sleeping giant. Absolutely. He has created a giant, is what he's done. And we haven't seen Tennessee baseball teams this good since the mid 90s. And it's really exciting to watch. Absolutely. Let's see. Moondrop Speedy said, yes, the pickoff was amazing. They needed that badly in that inning, beyond clutch. No doubt. Totally agree. That was a desperately needed play in that particular spot. Just an incredible throw, incredible tag. I mean, it was perfect. It was absolutely perfect. JL, welcome, JL. He said, "Go Vols." Absolutely, buddy. He said those dudes from East Tennessee represented today. Absolutely, they did. It was fantastic. Uh, Certainly, I mean, we won't know for sure until tomorrow at noon, but certainly they have wrapped up the overall number one seed. And before the comments blow up with people panicking over the number one seed, because that's all people have said to us on Twitter and other places is no, 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 we don't want the number one seed. I'm going to say what I've said twice on our show now already. People say we don't want the number one overall seed because the number one overall seed has only won the College World Series once in the last 28 years. And so they say, so we don't want that. Okay. All that means is that one of the 63 other teams has won the thing in the last 27 out of the last 28 years. I guarantee you, if they ran a stat on like the number 2 seed, I guarantee you the number 2 seed has only won the SE or the NCAA tournament once or twice in the last 28 years. The 3 or 4 seed may not have won it at all. Who knows? I mean, at least once the 64 seed won it, and that was Coastal Carolina. And I'm wondering if Ole Miss, I wonder what seed they were when they won it a couple of years ago, because they were one of the last teams in. So, I mean, just because, Moonjosh Beach said, what seed was LSU last year? That's a great question. I don't remember. Number 1 or 2. They were number 1 or 2 for sure.
I believe they were number 2. And I tell you, this time of year, all it comes down to, seedings don't matter at all. It comes down to who's hot at the right time. And that LSU team in the best 2 out of 3, they're going to be a tough out because they've got Gage Jump and Luke Holman at the front of the rotation. They've got Ackenhausen, Gavin Guidry, and Thatcher Hurd coming out of the bullpen. Like, you have to beat them 2 out of 3 times, you're going to be in for a fight.
Zach said, we are number 1. We were number 1 last year in the SEC tournament. Look what happened. Absolutely. He said, remember, God is a Tennessee fan, so he's on our side. I don't know if God's a Tennessee fan. He did make the sunset orange, so, and the sunrise orange, so that's good. But that's pretty good. JL said somebody has to break the curse. Absolutely. And that's the thing. I don't really think it's a curse. I just think that it's hard to win the College World Series. Like I said, yeah, the number 1 seed has won it once in the last 28 years, but I would venture to guess that no seed has won it more than maybe twice in the last 28 years. Like the 2 seed might have won it twice. The 3 seed might have won it once. So, I mean, that stat doesn't mean a whole lot to me. In theory, I agree, you want to be the number 1 seed because theoretically that gives you the easiest path to the national championship series at the end of the College World Series.
I think the seed that matters more is Tennessee is right now top 5 nationally in offense and pitching. Those are the seeds that matter most. And I bet there's not any other teams in the country right now that are in the top 5 in both.
Totally agree. Jerry said, I think you're right. They were number 2. Or Zach thinks they were number 5. He said that they were number 5 last year, but they weren't number 1. So that's the main point here. Tony, welcome, Tony. Good to have you. He said, great win by the men. The softball team made me sick in my stomach. Pitiful. Yeah. All right. So we'll talk about that here in just a second. My guess is Reed just shared yep, he did. Hey, thanks, Reed. We appreciate you, buddy. All of a sudden our numbers just went like doubled, like in a matter of 4 seconds, our numbers just doubled of how many people were watching on Twitter. Thank you, Reed. Appreciate that, man. So Zach said, let's not talk about the softball game. Well, we're going to have to talk about it here in a minute, but, so to wrap up the baseball talk, Dylan Loy, my player of the game, absolutely tremendous. Christian Moore totally shafted not getting on the all tournament team. I mean, that's just insane. That is literally insane that he wasn't on the team. Hunter Inslee, you could make a case for Hunter Inslee. He should have been on the all tournament team. I mean, dude went 4 for 4 in the championship game. He was like 2 for 3 the game before that. I mean, dude has been hitting the ball like crazy. So I'm not totally sure how. Uh, not sure how they could not give really either one of those guys an all tournament team bid.
Because the SEC is stupid.
I
We have a
totally
shirt for
agree.
this.
I totally agree. The SEC is stupid for not giving Hunter Inslee and especially Christian Moore all tournament team honors. That's crazy. Mississippi Vol, welcome, buddy. He said, I agree, guys. A number one seed has to win it eventually. Why not us? Absolutely. No doubt about it. Herb said, no other team to break the curse than the Vols. Hey, yep, that's absolutely. I really don't think it's cursed. I just think other teams are good too. But yeah, let's do it. And then we'll say we broke the curse. I totally agree. Zach said Blake Burke was his player of the tournament. I mean, Blake played well. I mean, there's no doubt. But I think Christian Moore had more hits than Blake Burke did in the tournament. I mean, I really don't get it, but whatever. I'm just glad they won the tournament. That's all. So we will find out if you're just joining us. We literally had 80. Nope, it's going up still. We had 85 people join us in the last minute, and so if you are just joining us, we will find out tomorrow for sure at 12 o'clock noon Eastern time if Tennessee is the number one overall seed. But unless something crazy happens, like the NCAA committee gets involved, then Tennessee should be the number one seed. Just like Christian Moore should have been on the all tournament team, but whatever. But Tennessee should be the number one overall seed. We've now jumped up by 100 people in the last minute and a half. Reed, you're the man. Thanks for sharing it, buddy. We love you, bud. Let's see. Zach said the SEC is not stupid, just the people who run the SEC. Yeah, I still think the tournament form, the SEC baseball tournament format's like the dumbest thing in the history of the world. Single elimination to double elimination, back to single elimination to a one game.
It is stupid, but it worked to our benefit this week.
Yeah, this year it worked for us. It didn't a couple of years or last year, whenever it was, but 2 years ago, or maybe it was 3 years ago. 2 years ago we won it. So it must have been 3 years ago. But yeah, it backfired on us then. But this year it worked out for our benefit. So turnabout, or what did Michael Scott say? My, how the turntables. Moondrops Beauty said, I don't think the Lady Vols would have made it too far in the Women's College World Series, mainly because the offense isn't a threat. Just awful yesterday and today. No way Bama should have beat them. All right, so we'll wrap up the baseball and we'll move to softball. So Rustin got to be at the baseball game today. Rustin, one more time for the over 100 people who just joined us. Tell him what it was like being. Rustin's not on screen because he's in his car on the way back from the game today. So Rustin, tell everybody what it was like just one more time in that stadium today.
It was an electric atmosphere. It was about 40% LSU fans, about 30 to 40% Tennessee fans, and then about 20 to 30% locals and fans of other schools. I think that's what's really the SEC baseball tournament is people who decide to buy tickets for the whole week will stay for the whole week. And so you saw Alabama fans, you saw Kentucky fans, Mississippi State, like Vanderbilt. There were people from so many other schools there. The LSU fans are crazy loud. I will give them that. They make it sound like they are twice as many as they actually are. But it was almost fascinating at times. They have all these different chants that they do, and there were moments today when, and kudos to Dylan Loy, there were moments today when they would do their chants and immediately Dylan Loy would strike somebody out. Like it was almost like clockwork, and it almost felt at times like he was feeding off LSU's chants. Like he enjoyed the fact that they were almost heckling him, and he was just thriving on it. I can't tell you how many times today in crucial situations when LSU's fans would create some momentum, all of a sudden Dylan Lloyd would get a strikeout. And he was just, it was phenomenal to watch. It was an amazing atmosphere. Um, you mentioned that they sold over 15,000 tickets. I looked up the allowable capacity of the Hoover Met. Yeah, that's 10,800. So they were 4,200 people over their fire marshal max, um, which, and I can attest, it was absolutely true. I said earlier, we got there and we showed the people our tickets and we're like, where are these seats? And the lady said, just find somewhere. Like it was, they had given up. They're like, we're not worried about what your ticket says. Just find a spot. Um, so they had drastically oversold the stadium.
Yeah, I'd say so. Because they were bragging about the attendance record on the on the broadcast, and they were talking about how it's just over 15,000, and now we know that was 4,200 people more than that were supposed to be legally allowed into the stadium. So that's pretty funny, actually. Good thing there were no fires. That's good. uh,
So I was actually, as you were saying that, I was just sitting here thinking, if there was ever an opportunity for a terrorist attack, it was this, because the security was, it got it got so overrun with people. Security was just letting people in. They're like, just scan your ticket and go. Like they weren't checking stuff. They weren't. I mean, it was free for all.
it's a very trusting environment down there in Hoover.
It was.
So if you are one of the 214 people watching right now, we appreciate you. We are glad you're with us. Um, I noticed Bobby Joe, one of our friends, she just liked it on Facebook. So Bobby Joe, East Carolina graduate. I haven't checked to see how they've done. I need to go check and see. Hopefully, they won their conference tournament. I'm sure they'll probably be hosting a regional as well. Let's
If the
see.
latest if the latest rankings end up being true, East Carolina will be the 16th seed, and if they win their regional, they will be our super regional.
Yeah, they'll be coming to Knoxville. So that would actually be a very well attended super regional, because with those schools being, side by side states there. Um, so congrats to Dylan Loy on an amazing game. Super happy for him being from Pigeon Forge. I mean, that's like every kid's dream growing up in Pigeon Forge, man. What he did today, that's really, really cool. Zach said he's ordering an SEC championship t-shirt very soon. Herb said Loy and Dallas are going to be aces next year. Yeah, I mean, I certainly think you're going to see Dylan Loy in the starting rotation in the weekend next year. Um, just tremendous for a true freshman to do what he did today. Absolutely awesome. So softball. Lady Vols softball had really, really odd back-to-back days. And, yesterday they essentially played two whole games yesterday. Um, Pickens had to pitch over 9 innings yesterday. Um, it's a shame that they couldn't pull that out yesterday, but they had won game one, so you get to go to game three, and you had another weird day today. They start the game. Kudos to Alabama. Alabama hits a grand slam in the top of the first inning, goes up 4-0, and then all the weather. I think all total it was a 3 hour rain delay, I think is what they had. They finally got back to playing about 7:15, and I mean, talk about. I mean, I guess you could say that was a good thing for Tennessee, because the momentum that Alabama had, that would have killed it. But Tennessee just could not, put hits together. Finally, in the bottom of the seventh inning, they get a run across. They they get bases loaded with one out. They pinch hit a girl. She pops up to third base in foul territory. And then I'm telling you, man, I thought it was going to be a storybook ending because they got bases loaded, two outs. I'm hearkening back to Drew Gilbert against Wright State, where he hits a game-winning grand slam in the bottom of the ninth with two outs. And Kiki Malloy, the all-time leading home run hitter in Tennessee softball history, comes up to the plate with bases loaded. Uh, you know, they're down 4-1, and so the tying run's on third. Kiki is the winning run, and it's just setting up like it's going to be a storybook inning. And unfortunately, she grounds out to short, ends the game, and ultimately the season. But that just shows you, man, it is so difficult. It is so difficult to make it to a College World Series or a Women's College World Series. It's so difficult. And so any trip there needs to be cherished, needs to be valued because it is so hard to get there. And that's why, this year, if Tennessee makes it to Omaha, that's a successful season, bottom line. Obviously you want them to win it. Sure, no doubt. But man, so many things have to go just perfectly for you to win a College World Series. I mean, look at Tennessee softball team today. One pitch had changed their whole season. I mean, it's just so tough to make it to a College World Series or a Women's College World Series and to win the whole thing. My goodness, you have to have so many things going your way. You have to have all the right bounces, no bad hops, and you have to hope that, or hope the other team has to get some bad hops. It just all has to go perfectly for you, and it's so difficult. But my goodness, kudos to Karen Weekly, kudos to the Lady Vols for just a tremendous season. Tremendous season. Like I said, it's tough because they beat Alabama 2 games to one in a series earlier this year. Evan, I appreciate you joining us, but I will not put your comment on the screen because I'm not going to even let those words appear on our screen right now. But I'm glad you're with us, buddy. If you're on YouTube, you can see what Evan said in the comments there. Um, so,
but
go ahead, Russell.
a week ago, we called this. They have been struggling offensively. And on this show a week ago, we said they need to find a way to score even just 3 runs a game. If they can score 3 or 4 runs a game, but even just 3, then they should be fine and they should win because Alabama, honestly, just isn't very good offensively. In 3 games this weekend, they scored 6 runs. And I mean, I don't know. Unfortunately, it ended the season, but honestly, like it should be viewed as a massive letdown. It should be viewed as a huge collapse because it is. Like this is a team. This is a team that only won 1 game during the regular season against them because they had already won the first 2, and they didn't show up to play in Game 3, and they lost 1-0. And they should not lose to Alabama. Like, Alabama is not a better team. And just to be totally candid, Pat Murphy did a better job than Karen Weekly this weekend. And that's why Pat Murphy and Alabama are going to the College World Series and Tennessee staying home. And, I hate to say that as a Tennessee fan, but sometimes we just have to sit and soak in reality. And the reality is this Tennessee team did not show up to hit, and it bit them. And they never got a sense of urgency about that until the last inning today. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh no, the season's about to end. But if you watch their at-bats in every other game, every other inning, they're not competing. Like they're just trying to hit balls, and they're not fighting for outs. And Alabama, if you watch their at-bats, they were competing. They were fighting for outs because they know they can't score more than 3 or 4 runs a game. So they had to find ways to score. And Tennessee it felt like Tennessee was sitting around going, okay, at some point we're going to break out. But they weren't competing.
I hated it for Kiki today because Kiki is arguably the one of the best hitters. I mean, it's numerically she is the best hitter in the history of Tennessee softball, and she went 0 for 4 today, and that you hate that for her because, um, especially in that last at bat. I mean, she's wanting to be the hero, and everybody thought she could be, and it was just it was sad that it ended that way for her.
But if you
But
look the last 3 weeks, even you could probably go back 4 weeks, she hasn't really done anything in May. Like she's
yeah, she
been
struggled
very
lately.
absent.
To the three to the it was 300, now it's 299. To the 299 people watching, we're glad you're with us. Let's see here. Some of the comments that came through. Let's see. Moondross Beauty said, interesting fact, Lady Vols softball stranded 18 runners yesterday in the 14 inning game. They left 18 runners on base. And I mean, you can't do that and expect to win. I mean, that's the bottom line. You just can't do that. Uh,
That goes
300
that
people
goes
now.
to
That's pretty cool.
that goes to what I was just saying about competitive at bats. Like you have to have a mindset when you step in the box that there's 11 more ways. This is statistically true. There's 11 more ways to score from third than second. So every time a runner gets on third, especially in a game like yesterday, the hitters have to be up there thinking, I just need to get a ball in play hard somewhere and good things will happen. But they weren't competing. They were just in the box swinging. And Kayla Beavers was honestly not doing anything any different than she did the last time they faced her. But they just weren't like they just looked very lethargic in their at bats.
Moondross Beauty said it is very difficult to win a World Series or a Women's College World Series. It's crazy that Oklahoma's done it 3 years straight. I agree. It's incredible. I mean, it's incredible. Um,
Probably the most
Tony said,
interesting for you mentioned Evan. So for Evan, probably the most interesting thing that happened to me today when we were in our standing room only spot. This guy was standing there next to me watching the games, and he was clearly an athlete. You could tell he had been a player at some point, and he leans over and he asked me a question about Hoover, and he said, we just started chatting. Well, come to find out, he's actually the offensive analyst for University of Alabama, works specifically with quarterbacks, and he was at Fresno State with Kalen DeBoer and then Washington with Kalen DeBoer, and he's Michael Penix's personal quarterback coach. And
that's cool.
he got bored in Tuscaloosa this morning and just decided to drive over to Hoover for something to do. So we ended up standing and talking SEC football for an hour, and his transfer from the Pacific Northwest to the South, and what a culture shock this has been. I said, "What's probably the biggest thing that has stood out to you as just mind blowing?" And he said, "At the University of Washington, we had 8,000 people attend our spring game. At our spring game at Bama this spring, we had over 70,000." He goes, "I wasn't sure what was going on." Like he said, "I thought I missed a memo."
Hey, it just means more, right? It just means more. Tony said we lost the softball game today in the first inning with 2 outs, a walk, 2 hit batters, then the home run. Our top 3 hitters were 0 for 11.
Yep,
I think that's
very
very
true.
well said, Tony. I think you just hit the nail on the head. Evan Myrick said postseason Murphy is different. The head coach for Alabama softball.
Yeah, Pat Murphy. Pat Murphy's made a living off of finding creative ways to win in the postseason. But what Tony just said is absolutely unexcusable. Like your top 3 hitters can't go 0 for 11 in an elimination game. Like that again, competitive at bats.
In a
Like
season-ending elimination game.
that's
Uh,
that's not that's not competing.
Zach said, "I'm done with softball this year." Well, I think we all are now, buddy. Let's see. Evan said that was pretty cool. The story about the Alabama quarterbacks coach or offensive analyst. Uh, he said
He
fans are
was
different in the South.
he
Absolutely.
was he was a great guy, and at one point he worked with Brian Harson as well. Before he was at Fresno, he was a grad assistant at Boise with Brian Harson, and I asked him. I said, so from your perspective, what's different between Kalen DeBoer and Brian Harson? And he said, Kalen DeBoer's a nice guy and Brian Harson's a jerk. And I was like, well, that's pretty cut and dry. He goes, I would never work for Brian Harson ever again. He goes, we all had no idea why Auburn hired Brian Harson. We all knew it would never work. He doesn't get along with anybody. He has no friends, and he goes, that guy is hated by everyone he knows. He goes, Kalen DeVore is a really, really genuinely nice guy. And then this is interesting. He said, honestly, he's a lot like Josh Heupel. They're very similar in their personalities. He goes, and my perspective is Heupel's a really nice guy too. He said, I'll follow Coach DeBoer anywhere he wants to go. He's one of the most genuinely kind people I've ever been around. He goes, but Brian Harson, terrible. It was fascinating listening to somebody who's been in the room.
That's a glowing review of Harson there.
Yeah.
Let's see. Moondrow Speedy said, as soon as the Grand Slam happened, I had a horrible feeling we wouldn't recover. Yeah, me too. Absolutely. Doug said, do you think we need to get someone off of, hey, Doug, welcome, buddy. Good to have you. And he said, do you think we need to get someone off of Oklahoma staff to help Coach Karen Weekly? Because something's missing on the coaching side. I mean, I don't know. We took their catcher.
I sometimes it's hard to know personalities of players. Um, Coach Weekly has recruited really, really good kids. Like when you watch their interviews, when you watch people talk to them, they are genuinely good kids. I don't know that she has any butt kickers. And when you have a whole roster of really good kids and there's not a competitive mentality among them, and somebody who's in the dugout getting in everybody's faces and making sure that they're realizing, hey, we need to have a sense of urgency, because the coaching staff is actually a very good staff. Chris and Katie Malveaux are two of the most highly respected assistants in the country. Um, I don't know that it is a coaching issue. I think it's a player personality issue. I don't see anybody in that dugout that has no issue getting in a teammate's face and letting them know it's time to get focused and play. I see a lot of very friendly, kind, wonderful.
Oh, must have gone through a dead zone. He'll come back. Let's see. For those of you wondering like where Rustin was, he was on his way back from Hoover. He was there at the championship game today, and so he's on his way back. He's probably, my guess would be, just crossing over from I-59 Alabama into Georgia, based on what time it is and where he should be. He's probably getting close to Trenton, Georgia, maybe, probably around in that area if I had to guess. Let's see here. Well, I mean, he might be in downtown Chattanooga by now. I don't know. But well, no, because he wouldn't have lost connection. Let's see. Zach said normally he would watch the rest of the softball games, but he just can't this year. It's too painful. I get it, buddy. Absolutely. Evan said that was pretty great, that conversation Rustin had with the offensive analyst, and he said DeBoer seems to be a really good dude, very genuine. That's what the guy that Rustin was talking to today said as well. If you're just joining us, Evan said I-59 is tough for cell service. Tony said, you're correct, Rustin. No one with that dog mentality on the softball team. Yeah, I understand that. I get that. Moondraw Speedy says Zeta Pooney hasn't looked the same this year. Last year she had a fire in her eyes, not this year. Eric said, how long does it take to come from Hoover to Nashville where y'all live? So we actually live in Chattanooga. We're in East Tennessee in Chattanooga. And from here to Birmingham, it's 2.5 hours. To Hoover, I mean, we're looking at maybe 2 hours, 45 minutes, something like that. And so he should be somewhere between like Trenton, Georgia, and downtown Chattanooga by now. So maybe he'll come back here in a second. Other news that happened since the last time we were live: Tennessee basketball picked up a pretty strong commitment from uh, Chaz Lanier. That was a huge pickup for them. So when you look at what they have now gained this offseason through the transfer portal, you're looking at I love his nickname, D Stone Dubar. I love that, D Stone. That's what I'm talking about. From Hofstra, you got Igor Milicic from Charlotte, 6'10" dude who can shoot the ball. That's always nice to have. You got Chaz Lanier, who was considered or ranked the most efficient scorer in all of NCAA basketball last year from North Florida. And you got uh, Felix Okpara from Ohio State, one of the best shot blockers in the country. So really strong pickup in the transfer portal with the commitment of Chaz Lanier now. If you missed our interview with Felix Okpara, I'd strongly recommend going back and watching that. It was a couple weeks ago. It was fantastic. It was the day before he arrived on campus. Um, let's see. Moondrow Speedy said we won the Chaz sweepstakes. Absolutely, we did. It's gonna be absolutely. It's gonna be awesome watching them next year. Evan said SEC basketball is gonna be awesome next year. Very competitive, for sure. Absolutely, because Arkansas is going to take a step forward. Kentucky may take a step backward, but I mean Tennessee has reloaded. Thank you. Moondrow Speedy said that interview with Felix was great. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. My favorite part of that interview was when Felix's host family or his mom. I mean, they view them as their kids. They got a whole family there. So, um, and when his mom was talking about how Rick Barnes interacted with them on the official visit, that was my favorite part of that whole interview. It was fantastic. Every Vols fan will love to hear what Rick had to say about that, or what Brittany had to say about Rick on that official visit. And said, "I can't stand Kentucky." The 3-ring circus that was the introduction for Pope was pretty comical. So we'll find out tomorrow who Tennessee has coming to Knoxville. Should be a lot of fun this week as regional start for baseball. It should be a whole lot of fun. A lot of good baseball ahead of us. Rustin, you have any other thoughts about today or um, anything as we look ahead?
No, I would just encourage anybody who hasn't been to Hoover, if you have the opportunity. Tickets are crazy cheap. It's unreal how low some of them are. It's a definite bucket list item. And then I didn't hear what all you all talked about Chaz Lanier, but that's just it is unbelievable how Rick Barnes has retooled that roster, and honestly, they might even be better.
Yeah,
And that's just hard to believe that you can go to the Elite Eight, lose essentially your 5 best players, 5 of your top 6, and actually get better. Like that. That's just unbelievable.
I mean, offensively they should be better. You're right. Like they should be. They have more scores now.
Yeah.
A couple of the comments that came through, Moondrow Speedy said the parents and Felix are great. Anyone can easily see they're wonderful people. Totally agree, and they are. They're just fantastic people. We've known them for a long time. They're really great folks. Zach said Tennessee's going to win the Natty in baseball and then in football. Hope so. I absolutely hope so. Um, Evan said Tennessee should be better in basketball. The guys that transferred, he didn't really see as a loss, especially considering who they got to replace them. That was good. Moondrops Beach said Ricky took Chaz's recruitment over. Just love Rick Barnes. Absolutely, Ricky, welcome, buddy. He said, "Did you see Felix today? Was Felix in Hoover? Is that what you're asking, Ricky? If so, he would probably been the tallest dude in the building." Is that what you got to let us know in the comments, Ricky? Are you talking about was he in Hoover? Rustin, did you see him in Hoover today?
No. It
Oh,
was standing room only, way over capacity. Um, No, no one was finding anyone in that place today.
So Ricky said he meant at church because Felix and his family go to our church. Um, I did not see him there. I was actually our church, just so everybody knows, is a multi-site campus church, and I'm the communications director for our church. So I ended up at 3 of the 4 campuses today. So I probably missed him because I was probably at a different campus when he was at ours. I was at the 8:15 service at one, the 9:15 service at another, and then I had to get up to the 11 o'clock service at another. So it was a busy morning. Busy morning. Um, let's see. Zach said Adu was a loss, but he got replaced. Yeah. Uh, Felix Akpar. People are going to enjoy watching Felix protect the rim. He can do that very, very well. So it's exciting time to be a Vol, man. My goodness, everything's cool, no doubt, no doubt. The 354 people watching right now, we appreciate all of you. We thank you so much for joining us. This has been a lot of fun. It's a great time to be a Vol. We're looking forward to seeing what happens tomorrow at noon in this national selection show. By all accounts, Tennessee should be the overall number 1 seed. Um, However, with the NCAA involved, who knows? If you thought that common sense would reign supreme, just look at who made the all tournament team and the baseball team today. The fact that Christian Moore did not make it shows you that common sense is not reigning supreme right now. Ricky said, should have bought some of those $16 tickets earlier in the week for the tournament. No one wanted to win. I mean, you're not wrong. If
My
LSU
my kids got into the SEC championship today for $9.
That's not bad. That is not bad. But I mean, to Ricky's point, like if LSU wanted to win today, Ackenhausen would not have been pulled out of the game in the 3rd inning. I mean, like I said, Tony Vitello in the post-game interview yesterday said next week is the priority. We're not going to burn our arms before next week. I mean, yeah, Ricky said it just means more. I do hope that I know Greg Sankey was bragging about the tournament today on the television broadcast, but I do hope that he sees even coaches now are demonstrating that next week means more than this week. LSU, Vanderbilt, probably South Carolina, maybe South Carolina. They had to win some games in the tournament to play themselves into the regional somewhere. And they did that. And so for that reason, yeah, it just means more. I mean, it meant a lot to those teams. And let's be honest, for Tennessee, going into the tournament, even though Tennessee beat Kentucky 2 games out of 3, people were still picking Kentucky to be the number 1 overall seed heading into the SEC tournament. But Tennessee outlasted them. And so now Tennessee is going to be the number 1 overall seed. So it helped Tennessee as well in that regard. But it is blatantly obvious that teams do value next week more important than this week, and because it is, honestly. Sean said, it's interesting to see Rick Barnes have so much success from the transfer portal. It's awesome. Absolutely awesome. It's adapting to the NCAA in 2024. That's what he's done. And it's fantastic. Moonjosh Speedy said, do you think the coaches view the winner of the tourney cursed for the Men's College World Series? Great question. No, they don't. They don't. Yeah, great question, but I don't. They might be a little stitious, but they're not superstitious. To quote Michael Scott there a little bit. So that's a great question, but I think that's why you saw them today. I don't think they think it's cursed. I think that they understand that they could lose in the SEC tournament and still win a national championship. Like it's more important what you do this Thursday through Sunday than it was what you did this past weekend in the SEC tournament. So, um, to the 366 people watching us, you are awesome. Thank you. We appreciate you joining us. To all the comments tonight, thank you so much. That's what makes us fun, man. Moondrops Beauty, we appreciate your comments there about the tournament. Tony had some fantastic comments about the softball team. It was fun seeing everybody commenting. It was good to have Zach back with us tonight. It's been a while since we saw you, Zach, so it's good to see you with us tonight, man. But we hope all of you have a wonderful evening, Rustin. Glad y'all probably almost back now, aren't you?
Yeah, we're pretty close.
Well, I'm glad y'all have made it back safely. Robert Duncan said the national championship is more than the SEC championship. 100%. Yes, absolutely. Totally agree. Totally agree. So to the 372 folks watching now, we appreciate you. We hope you all have a wonderful evening. Thank you all so much for joining us. This is always so fun. Thursday night, we'll be live Thursday night. So we hope that you join us. We'll have regional action to talk about Thursday night. So hope everybody joins us then. Over the next couple of months, we got a lot of really cool things planned, a lot of fun guests. My hope is to get Sandoval on here. If you're on Vol Twitter, then you know Sandoval. I have many questions I want to ask him about how his story and how that got started. And so I'm excited to message him. If you're listening, Sandoval, now you know you can expect a message from me. We got a lot of just really cool stuff planned. So we hope everybody keeps tuning in. We appreciate all 378 of you watching. And we hope all of you have a great evening, Rustin. I'm glad y'all are getting back safely. I hope everybody has a wonderful, good, restful evening. Go Vols, y'all.